Hi, in this video, I will talk about how I got a scholarship to study masters here in Europe and how I got my residence permit in Finland. I will be talking about the steps, the dates, and my total expenses, and maybe some tips too. So I will start with, of course, promoting the program I'm currently studying now. So if you've ever heard of Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Program, I am one of the first intake of the study program Masters in Sustainable Mineral and Metal Processing Engineering, in short, EMJM Promise. So if you're a bachelor's graduate of courses related to mineral processing, metallurgical, chemical, mining, geological, raw materials, and rock waste treatment engineering, then this program is for you. So please check out the link in the caption below for the requirements. The application for the second intake was last year from November 1st to December 31st, but if there's any news for the third intake, that link would keep you up to date. Before I proceed, I'll be posting some information I got from other sites. So if you see this blue circle on the right bottom portion, it indicates the number of the link in the list I posted below, so that you could verify these things to yourself. Now, let me go you through my timeline when I applied and finally arrived in Finland. So, the call for application for the first intake last 2022 was from March 5th to 31st. I sent my application on the last day, and here's the email confirming that my application was posted successfully. Then I received the confirmation that I was offered one of the scholarships on May 12th. As you can see, I was given 10 days to confirm if I will really take part in the program. Of course, I replied right away. Yes. I received the letter of acceptance from the consortium on June 7th, and in this letter, they would give you instructions on what you should do. That includes the registration to the first university, which is the University of Oulu in Finland, the application for your residence permit, and the required degree documents. It would be best to really go through each of the items because it includes deadlines and important dates like the official start and duration of the program. But I will not be talking about those details because I think it would need another video, so let's just continue. After receiving the letter of acceptance, you'll know that you need two major things: your documents and the residence permit. But if you have the same questions as us before, why get residence permit and not a student visa? Well, this is the answer for you. Since the program requires us to study in Finland for more than 90 days, then we need residence permit. So from here you have two choices. That is to work on your documents first or book an appointment. I highly suggest that you try to book an appointment first because some of our friends were only able to book dates a month or 2 months later, so we really had to prioritize booking an appointment. Now, the question is when. Here is where you just estimate how long will you be able to process all your documents. So, what are the documents needed to apply for the residence permit anyway? You can check the link below, but here it is shown. A valid passport, a certificate of acceptance from a Finnish educational institution, a clarification on income, a clarification on tuition fee or scholarship if applicable, and a certificate of health insurance. So I already have my passport, my income, and scholarship as shown in the letter of acceptance. So now what I need are the certificate of acceptance or the admission letter from the Finnish educational institution, which is the University of Oulu, and the health insurance. Remember that I need to present these files when I visit the embassy, so I need to take into account the possible time it will be given to us. In addition, even though it was clearly not indicated in the Enterfinland site that we don't need to provide our transcripts, birth certificate, and NPI, we still made sure to get it. And as what was really written online was that you need to legalize your documents prior to submitting your application for residence permit. So on June 8th, we booked an appointment in DFA CDO, and the earliest appointment date I got was on July 7th. Since the embassy only opens from Mondays to Wednesdays and we'll be able to have our documents apostilled on the 7th, then I had no choice but to book dates a week later. So to book an appointment, I just follow the instruction from this website where I email my details to the following address. Again, the link is provided below. So I booked an appointment for VFS on June 12th, with a preferred date on July 11th to 13th. However, maybe it wasn't as busy as I thought because I was given the June 21st slot instead. It was too early, but still I gave it a shot because maybe, or just maybe, the documents will have completed by this time. Now I had all the booking of appointments covered, so I started working on the processing of documents. I made an account in Enterfinland site and uploaded the available files in the site, my passport and clarification of income and scholarship. As for the letter of acceptance or the admission letter from the university, you just need to follow the instructions in their online platform. I remember they just needed for you to upload the same original documents during the application process. However, due to some delay, they were not able to provide us both the admission letter and health insurance documents right away, so we had no choice but to send the letter of acceptance instead. We submitted the files online on June 16th. I didn't really worry since there was an option to submit additional files within the site. Here you can add up to 10 attachments. But there is one thing that you must remember when filling out the form in Enterfinland site, and that is to make sure the dates for your start matches with your intended date of arrival and the start date of your insurance. But as I have mentioned, the health insurance arrived late, so I didn't know that I could have put an earlier date. But it would be very helpful, especially if you want to arrive 2 to 3 days earlier, just to make sure you're all settled down before the class proper. So while waiting for both the admission letter and health insurance, I started processing my documents as just a precaution. And strictly speaking, as I have researched, this legalization process starts with your transcript of records, then CAV or certification, authentication, and verification from your university, then to DFA Apostille. And finally, it should be legalized by the Finnish embassy. And this all because Finland is one of the many countries that do not accept an apostille from the Philippines. But I asked my friends who were also Erasmus students and were already here in Europe, and they told me that they only got up to the apostille process. On the other hand, when I asked our coordinator, she just said that they just need what I sent during the application process, which are the original files. But then the rule said otherwise. And, I also heard of a case where a student had to go back to his home country just to work on some files. And I can't risk just going back in the Philippines to legalize some documents. The fare is literally skyrocketing, so I needed to make a decision. So, I just went to DFA Apostille. And as I have mentioned before, July 7th was my appointment date. And remember that the DFA needed CAV to authenticate your documents. So since I didn't get one, I went to my home university, which is MSU IIT, to get that CAV. So if you're from the same university, just want to remind you that processing takes 2 to 3 days. So you should consider that, especially if you live far like me. You could just let someone else get the documents for you. It's much, much cheaper. And notarization costs only 300 pesos at most, and document delivery via LBC is just 100. So I just asked a favor to a friend to take the documents for me, and I didn't have it delivered through LBC because I was scared, and I trust my friend more that he'll be able to give it back to me at home. I went to get my CAV on June 20, and my friend took it on 22. Then remember that I was supposed to have my VFS appointment on the 21st, so I rebooked another appointment and they confirmed it on the same day. My appointment date was moved this time on July 4th. The health insurance certificate, on the other hand, then arrived on June 23rd, so I uploaded it as an additional document in Enterfinland site, and now I only have the letter of admission as the remaining document. So I got pretty confident and booked my ticket to Manila too, on the same day. When it became apparent that the letter of admission won't be available until our appointment to VFS, I emailed our coordinator on July 1st to send me a provisional letter that I could show during the appointment. Then finally on July 3rd, I traveled to Manila, and the day after, on the 4th, I went to submit the copies of the same files I submitted in Enterfinland. I stayed at an AirBNB place, which is just a walking distance from VFS. If you guys want to check it out, it's just a very cheap place, and I placed the link below. One thing I would like to warn you guys though, the queue there is so long, and if you don't mind standing there for hours, you could just go there maybe an hour earlier than your appointment time at most, because when we went there, my friend and I, there were no chairs at all. You were not even allowed to sit on the stairs, and the guards wouldn't allow entry if it's still not on your time. Second, you have to have printed your requirements already. Otherwise, you'd spend more time there because there are available photocopying machines, but the price is too much and the queue is so long. I don't know how it is now, but when we went there, the person who did the photocopying was also the one doing the photo booth. I actually had everything ready, but I didn't know that the photocopies should only be in A4 or a short paper format, so I needed to photocopy it again. So basically, since I already have applied through the e-service, visiting the immigration service was just to prove my identity. They'll just take your photo and fingerprints and then ask you some information to confirm that it is really you. Then they would need the original papers along with a printed application form. Remember to print your application form. And they also asked a photocopy of our transcript of records. I flew back home on that same day evening, and on July 6th, I received an email requesting for an additional document, particularly my health insurance. I don't know what happened since I already submitted it, but I re-uploaded it as per instruction. This is their email, and this is how it looked like in the Enterfinland website. Coincidentally, on the same day, our letter of admission have finally arrived, so I sent the file as additional attachment too. Then finally, on July 7th, I went to CDO for my apostille appointment. Birth certificate authentication isn't really needed since I'm not below 18 years old, but I had both my birth certificate and the CAV apostilled. As I was also already in CDO, and so I had my COVID vaccination card authentication through BOQ or Bureau of Quarantine. Just like the documents mentioned earlier, this was not really included in the requirements, but I just want to make sure. So if you feel you want to be extra careful, like me, I booked for an appointment on July 5th and my appointment was on July 7th. Then on July 8th, I received an email that I was granted the residence permit. So easy, right? July 4th in embassy, and just after 4 days, I was granted. So as I told you, the period of my residence permit was on September 1st, as was what I filled in during the application. So I can't travel earlier than that. From that day, I could have bought a ticket right away, but I was so dumb I didn't know when our residence permit starts. I didn't know that it was indicated in the email provided. So I booked my ticket on July 13th, and these are the prices of the tickets I bought. And on the 17th, I booked my ticket from BXU to Manila. You could definitely find cheaper options than this, and it will be discounted if you present proof that you're a student. But I really wanted the Japan route, and I didn't know that admission letters are acceptable as proof of being a student. So yeah, and well, keep in mind also that e-commerce transaction limits of most banks are only 50,000 pesos. So I suggest to use credit cards or online banks like GCash for purchasing tickets as expensive as these. Aside from the tickets, I also paid for the travel tax online, which is another mistake on my side because apparently students don't have to pay for it. But then on July 23rd, my residence permit card finally arrived, so the card I received was different from the normal residence card permit. It doesn't have this data, which is indicated as the third item, but maybe I'll talk about the importance of this data on the next video. Now you may think that everything is safe and sound already because I already have my residence permit and tickets, but no. I showed my ticket to a friend and they asked, why are my luggage not checked through? I asked, what the hell is checked through? Then I researched about it, and through the chaos of the internet, I learned that if your luggage is not checked through, you have to check in and out your luggage in each airport, especially if they have different airlines. And aside from it's a risk of getting late for your next flight, they said once you go out to get your luggage, you have to go inside again and be checked by the immigration. And you have to make sure that you have the necessary requirements for that specific country as a transiting passenger. So I was like, what the hell? I just booked right away because I love to go to Japan, even though it's just at the airport, without considering those things. So you can only imagine my panic once I knew that and researched more about it. So I searched the Japan Airlines, and according to their rules, you don't need a transit visa if you have a confirmed onward ticket within the same calendar day, and travelers who are not entering Japan and transferring directly to a third country by transit are not required to submit any documents and undergo PCR tests. So yeah, I have that covered. But what about my luggage? The time between my Japan to Finland was only 1 hour and 40 minutes, and I think that won't be enough to take my luggage and then go through the entrance again, x-ray, check-in, and all those stuff. So I called the airlines and asked about that, and they said I could ask the staff when I arrive. Then they said they are not sure since it's a different airline. They're Japan Airlines and Finnair. But it is possible to check through if they are of the same itinerary or booking reference. And as also shown in Finnair's website, they check your baggage to the final destination. But if they have two separate tickets, the baggage is delivered to the baggage claim area. The baggage must be collected and then checked in again for the next connecting flight. So both of the airlines seems to be in congruence with their rules. And thankfully, I also found a YouTuber who vlogged his trip to Finland via Narita too. And you can definitely check out the link below. He was very kind to respond to my queries, and I asked him in all of his social media accounts, his Facebook, YouTube, and email address. He was also the one who told me that he just told the staff to check through his baggage in Manila. And because I got a POV or point of view from a person who really had the experience, I was finally relieved. But well, another thing to remember before you travel abroad is to load your SIM cards. Like me, you probably have all your Philippine SIMs connected to your email and bank account to get OTP and verification codes, so you don't want to have problems with that once you're abroad. Again, you can verify this from the link provided below, but here is how you activate roaming in your TNT or smart SIM cards. So you have to at least 100 pesos of load. And as for TM and Globe, also 100 pesos balance is recommended. I wouldn't bore you through the research I did on what and what not to bring in my luggage and bag. You can do it yourself, but I just want you to remember how very, very important it is to arrive at least 3 hours before your flight in Manila. My flight from BXU to Manila is from 8 to 9:30 a.m. on August 31st, and I met a friend before the next flight. And thank God my Filipino friend who's traveling earlier than me through Qatar Airlines told me to go early because of the immigration. I was happily eating my snacks with that friend almost at noon when I received her message, and I went right away. I told the taxi the wrong terminal, and I just realized it should be Terminal 1 and not Terminal 2 just when he passed the road going to Terminal 1. I was really breaking in cold sweat, knowing how traffic Manila is. But finally, I was kind of relieved that it was really possible to check through the baggage until Finland. They asked for my vaccination card, and for the love of God, I don't know why I haven't seen my BOQ card in my bag, but they just accepted that normal vaccination card. No problems. The migration line was indeed very, very long. It was smart of the staff in Japan Airlines to hand out our migration paper to be filled out while queuing to check in the baggage. I was asked by the migration a lot of things, not to mention she sounded so rude to me. She asked a lot about my scholarship and my course and asked me to show all my files, which are my scholarship, transcripts, and letter of admission. So just make sure that you have those files ready on your backpack and very accessible. Finally, it was just barely able to arrive to board for my flight, maybe around 5 minutes. So if you want to just travel without all those stress in mind, please just go at least 3 to 4 hours before, because yes. Japan Airlines was so strict regarding their COVID protocols, they didn't allow the passengers to go out yet except me, who they specifically escorted to my next flight gate. They even had a staff print my name on the paper to show me the way. There was no queue at all. Actually, it was just really me on the X-ray, and I arrived at the gate on time. Then I tried to ask Finnair if it's possible to check my luggage directly from Helsinki to Oulu. Then they asked me why I didn't tell in Manila to check it through to Oulu. And I explained to them that I didn't know. You said on your side it's only possible if they are on the same ticket. He said it's okay, so yeah, I told him okay, next time I'll remember. He said it's not possible anymore because of the time constraints, so I just pray that hopefully this 1 hour difference of flight from Helsinki to Oulu would suffice to collect and then check in my baggage again. Thankfully, yeah, it was, because there was literally no queue and the check-in process in Finland is so smooth and seamless. And yeah, that's when I finally met my Filipino friend. We had the same flight bound for Oulu. She had different thing to stress about, that is, because she booked a flight earlier than the start of our residence permit, so she had to stay at the airport and wait to check in. But now, yeah, the moment you're waiting for, the breakdown of expenses. Here I included the TOEFL exam payment as it's part of the requirements in the scholarship. And as I mentioned, NBI and apostille of documents aren't really necessary, but I also included here. I actually prepared passport-sized photos and a lot of printing and photocopying, but I'll just say that it all costed me 100 pesos. Then the VFS payment, AirBNB cost, which is halved because I stayed with a friend. Then the travel tax that was supposed to be free, and I also bought new luggage since I wanted to make sure my bag is sturdy and reliable because this is an international flight. I don't want to embarrass myself if my bag suddenly breaks or something. And of course, you have to make sure you have money on your card and in cash. Please note that I didn't include here the fees of the currency exchange. Then the winter clothes, which I believe was super worth it, and student union fee, which we were required to pay prior to our arrival, and maybe some other fares like taxi in Manila. So basically, if you guys have plans to invest in studying abroad as an Erasmus student like me, maybe make sure to have at least, 190,000 pesos for the basic stuff. You need more if you like to shop some other things, and of course, you splurge on foods. And if you wanted to be more sure and go through the whole document legalization process, you need to pay another 2,000 pesos too. But disclaimer, we haven't really used the Apostille one at all, both in Finland and now here in Austria. So you might want to eliminate that process all in all. Yeah, that's it. I'll be posting another video too on what to do after your arrival in Oulu and the expenses you're gonna expect every month, and if the allowance of the scholarship is enough to cover that. So that's it. Please don't hesitate to contact me on my social media accounts below.